you can't build a brand where sustainability is your number one goal, because actually if sustainability is your number one goal, the brand will never grow, because you don't have no one's going to just keep subscribing or paying for something just because it's sustainable, because the likelihood is if the model doesn't fit the market and people don't want to buy it, then the company's never going to grow.
Today we're in Hackney, East London to meet brother and sister duo Jack and Gabby Zulliani, who are on a mission to disrupt the men's fashion industry and combat overconsumption. Founded in 2022, the pair's rental subscription service Garmst has quickly gained traction, serving as a one-stop shop for sustainability, personal styling and convenience. I'm curious to hear more about the potential of rental subscription services as a business model and how Garmst is working to include new demographics in the conscious clothing conversation. Today I am joined by Jack and Gabby, who are the founders of Garmst. Hello. I am really excited about what you're doing. For anyone that doesn't know who Garmst is and what you guys do, it would be great to just have a little bit of context behind what you do and your mission.
Of course, yeah. So we're Garmst. We're a men's subscription rental service. We give our customers the opportunity to try new brands, styles, but without the need to kind of buy it initially. So you can see some of our shirts behind me. But yeah, what do I do? So I kind of lead up the tech and commercial side for Garmst. My background is in fintech, and now but a big change in kind of applying that into the clothing industry.
And I do everything to do with the creative side. So my background's fashion. We have the two sides of tech and then the creative and fashion side come together to create Garmst.
So how did it actually come about?
I was working in fashion before and absolutely loved so much of the industry, but the part that I didn't like was the overconsumption and just the waste that I saw in the industry. And I started renting a lot of my clothes. I was going to different events, but didn't want to, be spending hundreds of pounds on one item that I potentially would only wear a couple of times. And then every time I saw Jack was like, "Where are you getting all these pieces of clothes from? You're working in fashion." And I was like, "I'm renting them." And then he was like, "Well, that's really cool, I want to do that." Did a bit of research and realised that really there wasn't anything for menswear. So we thought, okay, how can we bring this to the menswear space, but actually in the way that they will want to rent?
I just wanted to rent some clothes, and there was nothing there. And the more research I did, to be honest, the more shocked I became. So I think that one of the facts that shocked me the most was the kind of average number of times that a garment is worn. So on average, a garment is worn 7 times. 7 times, I think, I was completely shocked. And I started to think about, there must be some way, whether it be through rental or another kind of cool, like imaginative, different, disruptive way to actually increase that number. And the more that we can look at how we can just get that number to be higher would make a real change within the industry. Using my skills and using my kind of background is kind of the application of data to get an understanding of how we can do that. So we started to think about, actually, guys might not necessarily want to rent for one event, but they might want to rent for every day or for the office or for a date or just for a weekend. So we kind of released an initial MVP, and we started getting feedback, and we just continually spoke to our customers about what they wanted from a rental company, and basically none of them said that they just wanted to rent something for a few days because it's too difficult and too much work. And to be perfectly honest, guys are lazy. Most of the time, guys are lazy. And that's the biggest piece of feedback and the biggest realization that I had when we were speaking to our customers. So for us, a big part of it was just making things as easy as possible for people to be able to have the opportunity to rent new clothes and try new stuff out.
How did you guys come together, and how did you kind of decide on venturing into a business together?
So we're actually siblings, if you cannot tell.
A bit of resemblance.
We always kind of knew that we always kind of like joked about having a business together as we were growing up. But we're very, very similar personalities, but very different skill set. So I think initially we were kind of didn't really know how the kind of two could come together. Like obviously, as we were saying, I'm very creative and Jack's very tech and data driven. When this idea started to develop, and actually we saw the gap in the market and actually thought this is a fashion fashion company, but actually we needed that tech and data element to really take it forward.
And I think you spoke about kind of us growing up, and I think our parents will definitely say we were never really ones to follow the rules. And I think that really resonates with kind of what we're doing at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, there are options for us to be able to follow the rules in life, and I think, you know, creating a business like we're trying to is kind of not following the rules. And I think we both got a very similar drive, and drive is very important when you're an entrepreneur, because you know, a lot of things don't go right. One of us might not always have a good day, and I think having a sibling there to be able to support you in that is incredible. I wouldn't be able to do it on my own for sure.
I was literally just about to say the same thing.
Yeah.
I think right now, like having somebody that you're so close to and the trust there is just imperative. You can just have that complete honesty and transparency that actually, okay, this isn't going well, or this is the way that I'm feeling about this, and actually, like, I'm not feeling okay about that, and just to be able to talk those things out is,
Although I think our other brother probably isn't that keen on us discussing it over the Christmas dinner, and it taking the, you know, having a business meeting over Christmas dinner. But,
no room to get him involved?
You know, potentially, yeah.
It'd be great to know what kind of brands and designers you have on offer.
So we have two main sides that we source our garments from. The first is working directly with brands to be able to give them the opportunity to hit kind of demographics people might not normally buy from. So at the moment, we have a very young kind of demographic base, and also trying before they buy. Like, we've had it on our shoulders. This is amazing quality. I'm now ready to make that investment. Whereas previously, without going into that shop or hearing about it or being advertised, they would have never have made that investment before. On the other side, we work with vintage sources as well. So we have like a large network of vintage sources. We have a sourcing dashboard which forecasts based on what we know we'll need in the next 1, 2, 3 months. Because with a lot of other rental companies, they have a load of stock, which they'll probably use some data to get an idea of what people might want to rent for a sort of a weekend or a week or whatever. What we do is we're so data driven that we actually only have less than twice the amount of stock that we actually need at any one point. And then when we don't need it anymore, we'll work with our vintage partners to be able to sell that to the right people if we don't sell it during the time that it's rented out.
It really sounds like you've kind of thought of every aspect of the process from start to finish. And I know that I've researched rental before, and I feel like on social media there's been a bit of controversy around, is rental actually good for the environment in terms of like the washing processes, the delivery? So it'd be really good to know, how you kind of have targeted that and how you're approaching that from a sustainability perspective.
We've partnered with Oxwash, so they're amazing. They wash all the clothes at a really cool temperature. They have filled like proprietary filters that they've got, that they've worked on and they're researching to be able to get all of those microplastics out the water. In terms of drying, they're constantly creating new kind of innovations, which is helping us to be able to wash, dry to the highest level. So keep everything in circulation for as long as physically possible without the quality of the garments diminishing. Also, I think the fact that we do monthly drops has a significant impact on that. Our customers can keep those shirts for a month, and actually sometimes customers say, I just want to keep the same shirts for another month. Moving that convenience to something that is super sustainable and something that they will feel comfortable that actually what they're doing isn't negatively affecting the environment.
It'd be really interesting to know a bit more about how you think your interaction with those customers. What is their main driver in terms of when they are engaging? Is it from a sustainability perspective? Is it because they're interested in the pricing perspective and getting the value out of it? Or are they interested in just kind of interacting with new brands and designers? What is that feedback that you've been getting?
When we first started Garmst, we were very keen to make sure that our target demographic, it was accessible to guys that have just moved to London, and they're probably not on a ridiculous wage, but it's making, in terms of cost, it's making it very accessible to them. Like, one of the big pieces of feedback we got is like the variety, just having that variety of having fresh new pieces, trying the opportunity to try new styles is such a big player. I think for us, you can't build a brand where sustainability is your number one goal, because actually if sustainability is your number one goal, the brand will never grow, because no one's going to just keep subscribing or paying for something just because it's sustainable, because the likelihood is if the model doesn't fit the market and people don't want to buy it, then that, the company's never going to grow. So in terms of what we were trying to do is build something that guys really want to do. And, the value it brings them is the fact they get a huge amount of variety whilst not filling out their wardrobes and not spending lots of money.
Maybe they don't sign up because it's a sustainable option, but it's because they have the personal styling, because they have the variety. But actually the fact that it is sustainable and is circular, then it educates them and then they become a lot more aware of that.
How have you been going about that process of trying to engage men in something that they're just not aware of?
Yeah, it's a challenging one. So we always offer 50% off for the first month. That is because we need to make sure that the sizing is right and also that we have their correct style. But actually, a lot of the time as well, it's the fact that once our customers have tried the service, they absolutely love it. And like we've touched on before about our retention rate is massive. It's getting our customers over the line.
I think we've had it described as like a light bulb moment where it's really, people sign up because of the discount, or people sign up because they're like, oh, that could be cool. And after the first month, or generally during the second month, where they suddenly get, yeah, it's that like circularity suddenly makes sense because they're living it. And we've seen that so many times. Changing a way people dress and people think is really powerful, and I can really see it in action when people are subscribing to Garmst, which I think is awesome.
Yeah. We've done a lot of different like pop-ups or festivals or events, because as soon as people have seen the products that we have to rent out and how it actually works and have spoken to us, then they're a lot more likely to get on board and try it. And then the retention rate is massive.
And you spoke about being at festivals. I suppose that's another kind of major occasion that people want to dress for and also need assistance on, and also a major area of impulse buying.
And it's those different types of events or just like things that are coming up in the month that we really want to try and minimize the impulse buying and just give people a option that they can, you can rent the pieces for a month, and then if you really do love them you can keep them, but why go and spend over £50 on something that you're only going to wear a couple of times?
People have rented their houses for years. People rent cars on a regular basis. To be honest, like even more recently, ownership of stuff like music or films and clothing has had that in the past. So people have been able to hire suits or hire bridesmaid dresses, but actually now it's bringing it out to the general public and bringing it out to everyday wear. We live in a world where the number of people is growing exponentially and the number of resources we have is not.
We also all have limited space now as well, so it's allowing a continually changing wardrobe, but not having to keep it in your tiny city flats.
I definitely think like when you say it to me, it just completely makes sense. I think it's something that people don't know about, but when you tell them, like you said, it's a light bulb moment. It's like, why is this not being done before? Like you said, I pay for my phone subscription, I rent my place, I rent everything. Why do I not rent my clothes? It just makes sense. It's the next progression in that stage. How does sizing work at Garmst, and what kind of variety of sizes you have? I know that size inclusivity is a massive conversation in terms of sustainability and our offerings. So
no, I think that's a great question. So when customers sign up, they select what size they usually wear. We have a 75% match rate in terms of customers feeding back positively on size in the first month. After that, it just increases linearly. So I think the second month's like 80%, 85%, and by sort of month 4, I think we're pretty close to 95% fit rate. The customer profile over time evolves so that we know exactly what their size is.
Yeah, I'm really interested in like how it works in the back end behind the business in terms of, again, I feel like I've heard a lot from rental businesses about the stock and inventory that you have to hold, and obviously that's really expensive in itself, finding an area to place that in, but also from a size perspective, are you buying a shirt in all of those sizes and having that in a warehouse somewhere? Yeah,
exactly. So we use our tech to predict what sizes we'll need, so we don't hold loads and loads of stuff. So actually that's where I think the tech's very clever, because actually we look at 3 months down the line and we'll never rent something from our partners where we're not going to use it. Right. So everything that comes through, through our warehouse, we'll always look to be renting out in the next 3 months based on data-driven forecasting.
I'm aware that you are in an investment round. It'd be really interesting to see, since we're having this kind of progression over just a year, what do you see as the future? What do you see as your progression and how you would use that funding?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we're raising our pre-seed at the moment. People think the amount of money you raise defines the success of a startup, and that's completely incorrect. And actually, if we could build this company without raising money, then I would absolutely love to do that. There's a massive reason though that we need to raise money is because the ecosystem that we currently work in and the scale that we currently work in needs a cash influx to be able to turn a profit. And turning a profit is something that's very necessary to be able to grow the ecosystem that we're trying to build. So actually getting investment where we can grow our customer base, where we can hire the best people to be able to build the coolest tech that can enable what we're trying to build to happen is imperative. And it's incredibly important, and also working with experienced advisors that can help us bring something to market which just doesn't exist.
Do you see yourself potentially, I'm thinking from a Garmst perspective, like how you'd progress as a business? Would you maybe venture into new categories? Would you want to expand into women's wear? How do you kind of see yourself developing? Or is it something you're not sure yet?
And what we're doing at the moment is trialing a model, and it obviously works. Customers really love what we're doing. And so when you speak about the women's wear market, my honest answer is I have no idea. We're becoming specialists in the menswear market, and I think, to be honest, there is such a huge opportunity for us there. I don't see us needing to stray away from that kind of anytime soon. And as we've spoken quite a lot about the differences between how women and men shop.
Yeah.
And to be perfectly honest, I don't think the women's wear rental companies at the moment could service the menswear market, particularly in a kind of full way, just because of the difference in how men and women shop.
Yeah, and I think that sentiment really bodes well with your consumer when they think you're not just kind of expanding into everything because you just want it to be a massive business and really profitable. You just want to focus on a niche, one consumer, one category, and do that really well. And I think ultimately you'll get a really loyal customer from that because I suppose you've developed a better relationship and that loyalty.
Yeah.
I know you kind of manage more of the tech side of things, you're more of like a social brand image side of things. As your company expands, what kind of other roles do you see coming about? Would you like to expand the tech area of this, get some, data engineers in, etc.? The
next sort of business strategy kind of move that we make, everything needs to make sure that it's kind of backed up by data. So from my perspective, very keen to expand the tech team.
And then, from my perspective, marketing is going to be huge. We want to be basically a marketing platform for the brands to really enable them to reach new customers.
And in the future, I suppose, at the moment when we're seeing it growing, and like you said, you're working with brands at the moment, how do you think you're going to navigate in terms of a lot of retailers themselves are getting into the rental space and that's growing? Do you see that being a challenge, a problem, or do you see that as an opportunity?
I personally see it as an opportunity because logistically, rental is a nightmare. We've had to do a lot of research actually into what's right. And I think a lot of retailers hopefully would prefer to just work with an external company to enable that. Just take that difficulty off of their hands.
100%. I think it can only get easier for us if more people do it. So whenever I see competition, I'm over the moon by it, to be honest. We're trying to build something which solves a problem. I want as many people involved with that as possible because competition breeds success.
Yeah. We also still do it in a very, particular way and a very certain way. And actually brands doing it by themselves is not what we're doing.
What you've been saying today is really interesting. I mean, personally, my background is in fashion, but it's also in tech. So I am selfishly really excited about speaking to you today. Data is what everyone's learning at the moment, is that's the only thing we can rely on. It's guiding what we do in the future, it's guiding how we react to things in the present, and I think ultimately if you're doing such data-backed decisions, it can't fail. Well, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
As we said, rental is really on this kind of great trajectory, and also tech and AI is on a similar path. So I think together, match for success. Stunning. If anyone is watching this, whether they are an investor, if they are a consumer, potential customer, What is the one thing you want them to take away from this and remember about Garmst?
I think honestly, just to try it.
Yeah.
Because as we said before, as soon as people have tried it, they absolutely love it. So it really is that just one step to sign up and give it a try and see what you think, because honestly, you won't go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're an investor, drop us a message. If you're an investor, drop us a message.